the exact one, but it's close enough. So does everyone have an Easel faceplate, or at least can sort of onlook? What I find, and what I'm going to do today, is just go through section by section. But rather than going from left to right, which is also part of the standard paradigm, oscillator filter, I find it's better to start with the Buchla, especially if you buy an Easel and open it up, because all the audio stuff starts over here on the right. And this whole first channel is master volume, headphone monitor, which is great. You can turn the master volume down, turn the headphone up, create a patch, and then bring it into the audio space with the master volume. That brings up the other point. The Easel is designed to be a performance instrument. And Don Buchla called it, the electric music box, and it's Buchla electronic musical instruments. He was very clear about that at the very beginning, as he wanted to call it Buchla musical instruments. And I think that's another way to get around, to get our heads around. I feel this as an instrument. All of its parts interact. It's like learning a violin and learning, what bow positions are going to do over the top of the bridge, or over the top of the bridge, or over the fingerboard, and what con legno hitting it with wood's going to sound like. It's all integrated, and with this keyboard, it's definitely a performance instrument. The other large Buchla systems, I find, and this is me personally, are more studio friendly. Okay, but the interaction that you get with this keyboard, I just find sensual and expressive. So, first thing you do, you have master volume, you have headphone volume, then you have reverb. Hello, in this little box we have 3 springs for a beautiful spring reverb. They're about this long, they live under the upper right hand section here. Followed by channel A and channel B. And channel A is hooked up to oscillator 1, and channel B is hooked up to the complex audio oscillator. Channel B is hooked up to the modulation oscillator, which in the old Easel was only low frequency, it was only an LFO. In this new Easel they have a switch, and so it can also be in the audio range. So you have 2 audio oscillators, or 1 LFO, 1 audio. And we'll get into the cross modulation. So, moving from right to left, the next section is your low pass gate. We'll look at these sliders here. Here's another way of thinking of it too. I know you can't see it all, but this is audio section. This is what I was talking about, how the Buchla system is this complex audio oscillators surrounded by control voltage shaping. Okay? That's a little detail to superimpose on your black and white map there. If we look at these sliders, and this is also what I really love, is having this many sliders. If any of you heard my performance the other night, the sliders come pretty much in pairs. And this first slider on the right is not making any sound. Oh, that's because I changed the routing. I'm just moving it up and down. It's manual. Okay. This section is called the low pass gate. Once again, this whole section, you'll see gate 1 and gate 2, I believe, in tiny little print there. At the bottom it says mode select, and you have voltage controlled amp. So in voltage controlled amp mode, it's just the VCA. Okay. Once again, this is Buchla being multitasking, multifunctional. So that's VCA mode. Okay. Then you have combination, which is a combination. Well, let you hear the low pass. You hear the filter opening and closing as opposed to, right? Okay, so it's a gate, it's It's a VCA, it's a filter. What is it? Combination. And it's backpole driven, so that's why you hear a nice little taper there. VCA. Try to do. All with me? That was just the low frequency oscillator. The other whack thing, or was whack to me, which I'm trying to help y'all out, is the right-hand most pair of sliders is hooked up to the modulation oscillator, which is over here. And the next gate in is hooked up to the principal oscillator. So it's basically a mirror. That's the way I think of it. You know, when you all get your easels, you're going to go, well, why isn't the modulation oscillator hooked up to 1 and the principal hooked up to 2? Because that's linear thinking. But no, everything in this is either mirrors or circles. Okay? And once I figured out, oh, Don's brain works in mirrors, it all started to make sense. Okay? So, there's the low frequency oscillator. And then here's the principal oscillator. And, you know, let's just take a look at the, what do I have going here? Yeah, just so we can hear the low pass gate again. So, other important point when you get your easel. These paired sliders, the one on the right is manual. Only works with your hand. High is high in frequency, it's fast in attack. Low is low in frequency or slow in attack. So all these sliders at their high, most point, fast, and high, low, and slow. It's going to be important when we get to the EG, okay? Because it's going to feel backwards to you. Okay, so let's just quickly take, I'm using the Pulsar, which we'll get into later, but we got, the right-hand slider is manual, so if I'd like to fade, I can do that. And I find that's really helpful in live performance, to have that option. You can all come up later and look at all this weird patching I have. By just moving a few sliders, the universe changes dramatically because I have control voltages going every which way. Control voltages then are attenuated by the left-hand slider of the pair. Okay, so that's control voltage as to moving my hand, okay? That's the VCA setting. Combination, low pass. Back to, so all I did was engage some sample hold things there, okay? But that's, once again, why I think it's a live performance instrument. You can spin on a dime, okay? The next section, first of all, any questions on that section? Oh, one thing I didn't cover, so start formulating questions, is the top part. Once again, you know, we began at the extreme right with spring reverb. Not too many of those in your standard suitcase synth. Looked at the low pass gate. At the top of the low pass gate it says preamp envelope detector. Frigging awesome, right? I can bring in anything from the outside audio world, be it a tone, a beat, my voice, a guitar, feed it into this and it comes up on a fader here that then I can apply the low pass gate to, the VCA, all of that stuff, or I can use it to cross modulate other things. Okay, and it's an envelope detector. So immediately, once again back to Buchla brain, one thing I learned, my new mantra is, you are only as expressive as your control voltages. In other words, if you can make beautiful, amazing, complex control voltages, that's where the expression lies, in controlling gates and timbres and envelopes and, you know, you name it, pitches in very subtle or dramatic ways. So immediately, before we, you know, in our first section, we have an envelope follower that then turns audio. Not only does the audio come in and you can mess with it, but it tracks its peaks and turns it into control voltages, so you can further control voltage anything that's in the easel. Okay? Questions, comments? Okay. Next, part 2, the audio oscillator, which, as we know in Buchla land, is 2 oscillators. And the first one we've got going here is underneath inverter. Oh, I guess that's the sort of topmost section that you're seeing. Might as well talk about that. More control voltages. So you can take any control voltage that is in the easel, which there are a gazillion, because all those colored banana jacks are output control voltages. All the black are input. Okay, so when you get your easel, black is input, everything else is output. So no putting orange into orange, or white into white, or orange into white, or purple into puce. They all have to go into black, okay? You can do it. You won't blow it up. A lot of people tried today. And, unwittingly. So, and that's also, I think on yours, I've made a little rectangle. I know, since you're in black and white there, that rectangle in the patch matrix, in the banana matrix with all the banana things, those are the black inputs. Okay. Sorry, I couldn't come out in color. Okay, so oscillator. The waveforms here above, under the complex oscillator, there's a dial and there's some waveforms. All the way counterclockwise is always a sine wave. Okay, no matter which waveform when it's in sine triangle, fully counterclockwise, you can use that Tambor Slider. And this is another part of Buchlidian folklore and reality. It takes that wave wave folding. If you put it on a scope, you see this sine wave just start to turn in and multi. It's you can think of it as additive synthesis at this point, and so it creates these complex textures. also be control voltage. So you can pick them out, or you can, for instance, send sample hold to it. Okay, following me? Once again, you can get there real fast. It's a slider away if your patch is set up. Or you can, patching here, once again, it's also frigging ergonomic. And to think that Don figured this out 40 years ago is just amazing, because that whole patch bay, I can, by just reversing one of these little shorting bars, I can go from using the envelope generator to the pulsar, or I can here, let's see if here's the pulsar. Oops. Now I'm using the envelope generator. Now I'm using sample hold to be my envelope. Okay. Questions along the way? Wow, this is just like college. Okay. So, then if we go next, that was just the timbre. Then we have pitch, which, of course, if I have it on the little keyboard, switch, the keyboard's on. Okay, so that's pitch. We can, of course, take that off, yeah. So, once again, pitch has paired. So the right-hand side is manual. Left-hand side is CV. And you just set your offset, what's the lowest or highest you want, or attenuation.
So is the only one that create an offset if you use them both?
Yeah,
the manual one actually becomes the offset to the
right.
Control. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you got it. So attenuation, and I guess maybe good point. Pitch is maybe your bottom offset, if you will, or your range. The right-hand thing is range, the left hand is control voltage. Good clarification. Okay, and you have polarity. So,
Such a kiss.
yeah. After class. I just changed polarity, so you can drive these oscillators even lower. Switching. Okay. We're still going. Are y'all with me here? Okay.
I'm sorry, you're switching the polarity just on the oscillator?
Yep.
Is it the entire summed voltage, or is it only on the CV input that you're able to invert? Is it both of them? Perfect. Cool.
Yep. Cool. Other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious if you can use both. So you've got two oscillators.
Yep.
One of which acts as a main audio oscillator, and the other one is a control
It
modulation.
can.
But so you're saying you could can use them both for audio and just
Yep.
to thicken.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. That's principal oscillator. I'll take. Hello. Sorry, Marimento was still thinking about it. And here, that's sort of sine triangle of the principal. And I bet you some of you mess with my tuning knobs. Okay. Or I just put in a square on the principal, and now I'm bringing in amplitude modulation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bad.
Good little puppy. Okay, other questions while I'm on complex oscillator? Okay.
Real quick.
Sure.
Question. Something I've always wondered about the easels, and you went into it for a second, but those little kind of jumpers.
Mm-hmm.
What are those, and why do they exist?
They're little jumpers. They
It's the same as a
progress.
hot glue, right?
It's the same thing as that.
They're just designed to be really short in reach from
Right, yeah.
to adjacent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
gotcha.
they're called shorting bars. Probably
Gotcha.
had some technical meaning that I know nothing of.
Versus
Is there
having
any
another
water
one.
out there by any chance? Do you see any bottles of water? You could. Thank you very much. Realize I'm going to fade otherwise. So yeah, they're just, and once again, it's designed beautifully so that these can all interact and.
So that those functions are adjacent, very easy to.
Yeah, sort of the normal functions are adjacent, but
Makes
you know,
sense.
you can take longer cables and go from here to there, or you can go from your envelope generator out, or you can, sometimes I can go other Buchla modules in.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Okay, one question. If it's
Sure.
ergonomics, why wouldn't you have put all the jumper cables on the top, since they seem to be kind of in the way of all the sliders? And you have to reach over them.
Good. Ask Dawn. I'm not the one to answer that, and I didn't notice that because it has been a problem for me. Because I stand at it and I do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. If I'm down here, that is totally the case. But thank you very much. So, you can help design the third iteration of the music easel. Other questions on the complex oscillator? Going once? Yes.
I had another goofy question.
Sure.
So one thing I'd like to do
I'm
with
Mickey.
Surge
You're goofy.
is if I have two oscillators, I can create chaos by cross-modulating A with B and then B feeding back to A.
Yeah, well,
Can you do that with this?
this is just like we rehearsed, because the next thing we're going to is the modulation oscillator, and guess what it does?
Okay.
So yeah, let's look at the modulation oscillator. Above that, you have the audio outputs, those little two things. It says left and right. I'm sorry, this is mono. It's not stereo. Forget it. You get mono out of left, mono out of right. Okay, it's the same signal. Okay, as in the original. So modulation.
Left mono output, right mono.
It's the jack on the left and the jack on the right.
Or the Todd, or the. So here we go. Yeah, the frequency. Here's another thing that in this redesign, originally, if you can see it, I know I'm asking a lot because it's a bad black and white. It says frequency. It says modulation. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to have to pee. Okay.
That was entirely vodka, that first one.
Oh. You know me. Originally, the frequency was where modulation was, and modulation was where frequency was. Why? Because he thought in mirrors. But they changed this around to make it so that your modulation oscillator has frequency, modulation, your complex oscillator has pitch or frequency and timbre. Okay? So this is sort of hybrid, you know. Okay, back to modulation and frequency. So yeah, we have we've got it acting as low frequency modulator. There's the little switch, right? And I can change its frequency manually, or I can change its frequency control voltage. Okay, so, and the question was what? So let's see. We can AM modulate.
Can you take that output and feed it back into the modulating oscillator?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the on your sheet. Don't ask me design-wise, but there's a little blue output up here right next to channel B, and it says control voltage output for the mod oscillator. Is that what you're saying?
Control volt. Can you route the
audio
into the audio of the main oscillator back into the control oscillator?
Oh, I see what you're asking. Okay.
So they're fighting each other.
So loop back.
Is there FM on both?
No, not on the easel. No, there's no input. So that would require an input on the modulation oscillator.
Yeah.
No.
You could probably do it the other way, though.
The other way is hardwired in a sense. Yeah. The audio. Yeah, there's no input on audio input on that oscillator. Unlike the 261, where it has FM input. Is that what you? Yeah. Okay.
There's a larger difference in levels in a Buchla system versus some of the other modulars, correct? Like audio signals and control voltage signals are different ranges completely.
Right. Audio signals are carried by tiny jacks, and I forget what the ohms, wattage, whatever you guys talk about.
That's like 2 volts versus
and then all the control voltages are 10 volts.
Yeah.
And is the output on the easel line the same way as on the 200E, or is it a modular level on the output, on the final output? Is it standard line level or usually?
I have no idea. As long as I can hear
You
it.
would have noticed though with amps and stuff.
Say what?
If it was a really hot output, you'd probably have noticed it on your on your amplifier.
Right. No,
If it seemed kind of normal, then
it felt sort of normal last night. Yeah.
If you're running your amplifier at 2 or 1 or something, then you know
Right.
it's a modular level output, right?
Okay. You can answer that when you get yours. And he is getting it. Okay. So,
Maybe if it ever comes.
Yeah, wind the ship, right?
while we're still here, on the modulation oscillator, there is this one though. Back to the low pass gate for a second. One thing we didn't look at was the gate sources up here. It's a little three-way switch. In the down position, it's just oscillator 1, and it puts them in series actually. And so what would be my mod oscillator fader actually can do some phase cancellation and some actually almost high pass, mock high pass filtering. Because they're in series in the down version. In the middle version, it's both oscillator, complex oscillator and modulation oscillator. In top position, it's your auxiliary audio in, and it lets you do something back to the modulation oscillator. Smartphone, definitely smarter than me, makes me feel dumb, but whoops, this is just a tone generator app, for free. It's 900 hertz at the moment, and it's coming in there. Okay, so that's coming in on the rightmost fader of the low pass gate, which is now also in line with my modulation oscillator, which if I take it up to high and switch the little switch, we did AM and FM, and it says balanced. Balanced is sort of I hate when this happens. Okay, we got that. Okay. Oh, my little thing kicked off. I know it's not FM, but it does. It might fill the gap you were So, nice little feature. So, AM, FM of the mod to the complex, and external balance modulation or ring modulation if you're pulling in a tone. Okay?
What does it ring with?
The modulation oscillator in audio land. Okay, turn that off. What else? And we have hello. Oh, right. 3 waveforms for the modulation oscillator: triangle, square, and saw. Another live performance technique. Then there's the little switches both on the complex and the modulation oscillator, which is on and off keyboard. So you could actually have a drone on the modulation oscillator with the keyboard off, and then playing using the complex oscillator with the keyboard on, right? So, or you can have them track in fifths, thirds, tritones, you know. Okay. Other questions on that? Okay. That was just the yellow section of your easel, right? That's just the audio stuff. I mean, yeah, we use control voltage and stuff. Now let's look at control voltages. First thing after the modulation oscillator moving to the left is the pulsar. And it's switchable between having the keyboard pulse, and the pulsar is basically just sending out triggers, okay? So in keyboard mode, it'll do. Okay, and this is a little different because it actually I'm changing the value of the length of the pulse. Okay. Once again, right hand side manual, left hand side control voltage. I could have, if I do, let's see, I haven't tried this. That would be fun. I could do that. No, okay, never mind. We'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so pulse is just, and the other thing, I'm sorry you can't see, all these jacks are different colors. The pulsar is yellow. You'll see yellow caps on it, and all the yellow banana outputs are the exact same thing no matter where they are. And there's like 3 of them for ergonomics, so you can use those shorting bars and get the pulsar's places quickly. That's the keyboard. You can choose self, in which case, and for those of you who've never worked with old Buchlas like the 200 or the 100, in the old days, if you had a 281, it wouldn't cycle by itself. There's self-cycling modes now. So you had to hit it with a pulse from somewhere else, like an LFO or something. And in this case, what I have to do is take that toggle. You'll see it says triggered off and once. You know, there's once, like a VCS3 or a lot of different, old modulars had attack buttons. But you go once and then flip through off up to triggered and start self-cycling. Okay. Now I can, let's take this, I can use pressure on the keyboard to change the rate of the pulse. Okay, by a little shorty bar comes out of the purple. While we're at it, pressure, of course, could be going to timbre at the same time. Pressure could be going to modulation. Okay. So once again, you can just start routing these a gazillion different ways. And I was using shorting bars, of course, since it's all bananas, right? You can stack and go wherever. Okay. Envelope generator. Once again, it can be triggered by the keyboard. And once again, this is the important thing. When these faders and sliders are up the top position, they're high and fast and short. Okay, so like we're used to like, this is a attack, sustain, decay envelope. And so a fast attack, no sustain, no decay is sliders all the way to the top. Pull this one down and you get a slow attack. I think of gravity. Okay, slow sustain, slow decay. Okay. And you know, that's probably why the first time I tried this, I took a half hour trying to get sound out of it, because I put all the faders down, and you know, it's going to be 10 seconds before you hear the attack come up, and we're usually too impatient for that. Let's see. Take that off. There we go. And it has sustained or transient or off. So if I'm in sustained, I'm in transient. The Pulsar can drive it. Or the sequencer can drive it. And that gets pretty interesting, because the sequencer, the next thing we'll talk about, or actually voltage controlled or sequential voltage source. You know, we're used to thinking of sequencers of sending pitches, probably, most normally. But of course, it's just sending CVs. So once again, you can take the CV out, which is the blue, and route it to anything. And the other thing that's nice about this is, for instance, well, let's just get, okay, no great shakes, but, so here's the sequencer doing its thing. The envelope generator hitting our gate. But if we tell the envelope generator to read the sequencer, you'll see there's keyboard pulsar sequencer. Then we can, and you see the sequential voltage thing. It has, once again, keyboard pulsar or off. It has 3, 4, and 5 stages. Right now, all 5 stages pulse sequence. You'll see that there's 5 little toggle switches. So those are active now, and they're going to the envelope generator. So I can just turn them off, except for one. Okay, while we're here, let's take, I'm going to take that sequence now and go to the inverter. Remember that? We're back there. Well, and take the inverter and go to the mod oscillator. So now we should have, that's our principal oscillator, and that's inverted. And out of tune. So once again, you can set all these voltages, you can invert them. I'm sure you're getting the message. Other questions? Going once, going twice. That pretty much, the only other things to look at there are on the top section is, it says random voltage. So random voltage can be triggered by the keyboard. So you can, every time you hit the keyboard, it cycles through these strange little random voltage things that are coming out at the white jacks, which are, once again, I know it's in black and white, but it's the bottom row of this matrix, and it's every other jack, basically, starting lower left. And there's slightly different flavors of Pulsar. This takes a while to list. It's density and distribution. Okay, so. More low. Some repeated notes, which you didn't get in the others. So you have different flavors of sample and hold then to send every which way. And that can be either pulsar driven or keyboard driven or sequencer driven. And of course, if you start putting take the sequencer and have it drive the envelope generator and sample hold drive the pulsar, and that all goes to the E, you get whacked really fast. Yes?
Do you have an opinion on why it's a 5-step sequencer?
Because it's hip. I don't. Let's see. Take 5 was written in 1960. I have no idea. That was how Don designed it. Who knows? It could be everything from ergonomics to something. 5 is definitely hipper than 4. You can of course just do 4, or you can do 3.
So
or
you can make it do just 3 steps.
You can just make it, with a switch here.
Okay.
So.
Oh, perfect. So you're sending a reset on that stage.
Yeah. Let's see. Sure. Pulsar sequencer. That's 3. Then you can take that and using the sequencer and modulating the pulsar. Sample holding the pulsar. Okay. Don't get me started. Okay. Yep. So, yeah, good question. I don't know. Yeah.
Can it go forward and then back? That would be 8 steps.
Oh, right. No, I haven't found a way to make it go backwards. However, the last thing I guess to talk about on the top part are these little program cards, which look like printed circuits, whereby all the sliders and all the shorting bars and banana jacks are mimicked by resistor values. And if you look at, and this is another brilliant thing, I mean, this is like 1972 or something when it first comes out, right? If you look at all the indices, vertical indices here, I'm sure you can't read it, but there's an A440 on like the modulation oscillator. So you go, okay, I want an A440 on the modulation oscillator. You read all the way over to the left. See, this is right to left. This is another argument for my argument that Don thinks in mirrors and from right to left. So you look at that and you go 40, and you go over here and you look at the sequencer and it says 6. And so 6 means you use a resistor of 390K. And 8 means you use the resistor of 300K. And 10 means you use a 120K. Okay? So you can precisely set everything you're looking there. just by reading all the way over to the left and finding what he calls conductance values and looking at the little chart that Al and Strange created. So, here, why don't, I know we're sort of, if we're not running out of time, I see some of you fading, and I'm not too far away. So, pass that around, if you like. I'm still just barely getting a handle on all this. Once again, not geek, not tech. So I had to write myself lots of charts and you know, try a lot of resistors, and okay, well, maybe it's closed, so resolder, so this looks horrible. But so I can just slip this in here and flip the local remote switch next to it to remote. Get the idea. So
that bypasses all the panel controls?
Yeah, it bypasses that, and the new card that they're working on that should come out soon is a Wi-Fi card. So you take your iPad, which has a GUI that looks just like this, and you program on the GUI, and it sends it to the Wi-Fi card. And then the new Wi-Fi card will have about 8 presets that will be resident with little buttons. So you know, you program that card, stick it in, have your 8 presets, and away you go. Wow. Okay? Oh, by the way, did I mention MIDI? There's MIDI in, which reads aftertouch, pressure, modulation, and sync. So, you know, you can hook this up to your favorite software or whatever and go nuts. Yeah, question?
So in the case of like working on a composition, could you half program the card to leave variability within the patch points on the panel? So can you solder only some values on the card and then still like allow for keyboard control?
Oh, not at present.
Okay.
But my workaround for that is I just ordered a bunch of thumb wheel potentiometers.
Okay.
So I can. Okay. Yeah, but you would be able to do it in the GUI on the iPad in real time. Other questions? That just, yeah.
The program card defeats everything on the front, or does the keyboard still work?
The keyboard still works.
Volume still work.
Yeah, always the master, all the volumes and the reverb are all manual at all times. And the keyboard is still working, so you can do portamento and change pitches and all that stuff. And yeah. The last thing we have, yes.
There's a guy, and his name escapes me. He's known for Music Box.
Charles Cohen?
Charles. I knew it was Charles. Who, like, he purposely doesn't insert the cards all the way sometimes. Like, he gets, like...
Yeah, well, he actually, like, circuit bends with body capacitance on the back of it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the other thing with this card, you know, you can build your own stuff on it, right? You can build phase shifters or whatever you want. You know, some of us are talking about making it, you know, an Arduino board, you know, that just plugs in. So you can create
Does it
and
provide power out into the card at all?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
So, I don't know that for sure. I was faking that. Okay, the only thing left is the keyboard, which is freaking amazing. I find it's just such an intuitive interface. It feels really good. You have, as you can see, the other thing, when you get your easel, be sure to put all these 3 banana jacks between the pulse, pressure, and main of the keyboard to the pulse, pressure, and main of the 208 of the brains. Then you have full connectivity.
You could crosswire them if you wanted to do something really.
Yeah. Why not? The other thing you can do too is, of course, take connections on the brains and put them back into the mains of the brains. That's a fun cross-wiring, indeed, and feedback. And
So going back to the earlier question about doing the cross modulation, doesn't the modulating oscillator take frequency modulation from the keyboard? That's what I thought of it.
frequency.
So
That would be
it-
CV, we're talking CV versus audio.
Yeah, there's no audio.
Okay.
Which was the question.
Oh, okay, right. But never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
It's
That's
the
sort of
voltage
where
differences. It's the
I
voltage
see where you went.
differences,
That's where I went, but that wasn't his question.
Right. Okay.
And yes, there's control voltage.
Right.
That's what I'm doing. Portamento, you heard that, right? Nice, long, yummy, smooth sweeps. And you have an input to that portamento, so you can control voltage the portamento. Okay? And the speed and distance of that. Arpeggiator. Oh, yeah, okay. Hello. Keyboard. Arpeggiator. We have a random and, what do we got going here? Or random. Arpeggiator. Once again, input, control voltage input to vary the speed, or have it do fun things. Then it says octaves, presets, and none. So octaves are these 4 little pads down there that you see, lower right. The original one only had 3. They're called preset voltage sources. With those potentiometers, you can set any sort. You can set the offset for a control voltage. So in octaves, it's preset. These presets are okay. Octaves in preset mode.
So you're selecting between presets with that last bit.
Yeah, I'm selecting between pads that I just preset by turning the potentiometers. Four pads. And so you can also, this can be.
Do those 4 pads, they have just one potentiometer each? Are
Yes.
they hardwired to do pitch, and can you break that connection to do other?
The output, there's just a control voltage output.
And that can go anywhere in the system.
Yes, exactly. So, and so I mean, I could use that, for instance. If I didn't want to use the slider to do that. And that pretty much covers it. What I love about it is, when the day is done, I put the lid on, pull the cord, and done. I find sure, there's some limitations, but given, that we have spring reverb, we have, outside auxiliary audio to come in and to have control voltage, envelope detecting and create control voltages that way. We can invert any stuff that's either here or coming in. That sequencer can do 5 or something, but then you can hook it up with the arpeggiator and you can get all sorts of really weird things. The fact that everything can modulate everything else pretty much, I haven't found my imaginative limits yet. Probably not this lifetime. So.
Well, it's one of the things I was most impressed with last night was the range of things that you did with it with minimal, like, interaction with it. You were able to really go different places.
It spins on a dime. Yeah. Any last question? Thank you for your,
I guess I would ask just kind of to that point, when you're working with the Easel, how do you strategize how you're putting together a composition?
For me, composition is all about spectrum. Okay, be that low to high, fast to slow, sparse to dense. So whatever I start off with, I'm immediately looking for its contrast. So last night I started off with really sparse, strange things, to sort of give you a sense of, where you can go in the moment on the dime from different articulations to modulations to, burbling things to bongo-y things to the whole thing. But I put a lot of space in there. And then I came back in and I just started a simple sample hold, and all of a sudden those things, hopefully, at least for me, they had a new context. And you sort of forgot that, oh wow, maybe you forgot I did some of those things, or I even do, and it has a new context. And then as soon as it starts getting really dense, the next contrast moment is pull everything back out.
Yeah.
And then start on something else. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. My favorite response for, there was a guy at NYU called, he was Jan LaRue, and he wrote a book on form and analysis. But he talked about, he was looking at, this is classical music, form and analysis, and looking at it from a composer's point of view. And if I can remember these, it's like, it's the perfect composition mantra in a nutshell. One is recurrence. And it's interesting you chose recurrence and not repetition. Okay, there's a slight difference there. Recurrence, and you can think of a melody, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum, ba 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 bum. Okay, that's recurrence, but the development is he's developing it at different pitch levels. Ba 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 bum, bum, bum. Contrast. It went completely different. So let's see: recurrence, development, contrast, and response. And that's exactly what I was just talking about too. If I'm just doing sporadic stuff, then I respond to that on the come around on the looper. Okay, does that make sense?
No, that's
okay. I think that's really great little nutshell. Cool.